What's up, everybody? Today, I thought I'd go over what seems to be a amalgamation of crazy events that have gone on over the weekend, and kind of address and give you my thoughts on it. You know, I don't like to pander to a lot of worry and kind of like, oh, World War III is going to kick off and blah, blah, blah. It's not my style. I'm the type of person where if my family's safe and we're not in any immediate danger, and you could probably say that's a selfish thing, but I guess that comes with being a dad, right? If my kids and my wife are safe, then I'm content. And it's when their danger becomes a little bit, concerning. If they're in danger, then I would act accordingly. But it just seems like there's a lot of stuff that's gone over this weekend. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to get your opinion on it. Again, I don't usually do these things. Obviously, back when Russia and Ukraine kicked off, when Russia invaded Ukraine, I did like these development kind of like, I don't know, war development updates. Do you remember? Which were okay and all, but I didn't want to really do that as a whole channel. But at the same time, when big events happen, and I was a former military man, it feels like I kind of almost have to address some of these things going on. There's 3 points I want to talk about. There is the riots that happen in the UK, which is crazy in itself. We've got more drama in the Middle East, which is kind of escalated a bit this weekend, but at the same time, it's always ebb and flow, isn't it, over there? Like, it escalates and it de-escalates and it gets worse and it gets, it doesn't get better, does it? And then also another thing about the stock market that I've seen recently, which I'll address near the end, because it's also there's a few indicators there that there's some cause for concern. But let's talk about the riots that went absolutely crazy all over the UK. I mean, they're all like this. The news in the UK is all about the riots and just the pure chaos about what's happened. I feel like the UK is a very strange place where we're very tolerant of a lot of things. And then when things start getting worse and worse and worse, it's almost as if it implodes, right? We had the horrible, tragic event that happened in Southport, which, honestly, when I was reading about it, I was nearly in tears because it was just absolutely heartbreaking. If you haven't seen it, it was all over the internet. You can go and look at it if you want. And it's almost as if it's just not calmed down since then, right? We had these crazy riots all over the UK. You had people who are not happy with immigration. You had people who are going against the people who are not happy with immigration, saying, calm the hell down. It's almost as if you've just got people fighting all over the place. And I don't think it's helped that it's happening right after an election, which means a lot of people are pointing fingers. But in truth, I think this has been something that was going to boil over at any point, really, no matter who was in power. I feel like what needs to be done now is the very British thing of stay calm and carry on, right? We're seeing a lot here about the cleanup, which is always a very nice thing to do, a very British thing to do, where people go and they help and they clean up and they take care of things. It is worrying. Obviously, my wife is an immigrant, right? And although she's American and she's not the immigrants that these protests are targeting, right? Because there are a certain type of people that these protests are targeting, right? It's almost as if it's still like a little worry, because when things, and some people might not understand this, but when things escalate, it just it keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse, right? So if it doesn't stop at one demographic of people, what's the next demographic of people that will be targeted, and so on and so forth? If my wife's American, my kids are American, like, at what point does it start getting a bit worrying for them as well, right? And I don't think we're anywhere close to that part of the worry, right? But still, it's something that, as a dad, like I said, as someone who's kind of a passive person who just kind of sits back and doesn't want to get involved in a lot of stuff, I also like to keep an eye on the trends to make sure that my family is safe. And I think a lot of people who watch these videos are the same people, right? I'm the type of person where if it kicked off, I'm not like, I'm going to fight for the country. I'm the one who's going to look after my kids. and I'm gonna find a quiet place and build a homestead and be a prepper. That's my type of being, right? Some people might say that's selfish, but I've got kids, and they always will be my number one priority. And I don't think it'll ever get to that point. But you get what I'm saying. Like, this is very concerning. It's disheartening, and it's sad that it's almost as if I was excited to come back to the UK for a little bit of normality. And yet the opposite's happened, unfortunately. But speaking of not normality, war in the Middle East, right? Like, it seems to be going on at all times. The big thing now is there was an attack on someone in Iran from Israel, and Iran are now turning around and saying that at some point in the next 24, 48 hours, 72 hours, they're going to strike back against Israel. Now, they've already done this, right? It already seems that it kind of blew over pretty quickly. Like, Iran sent missiles over to Israel. Israel counteracted them, and then nothing really happened from there. But I just think that there's only so many times it'll happen before it goes to an all-out war. And it seems like Iran, if there was ever going to be another war in Afghan, war in Iraq, it's going to be war in Iran. That's what it would be. And that's what makes me worry, where if it kicks off and the US gets involved. Now, I don't think anything will happen anytime soon. Famous last words. But with an election coming up, it's almost, in the US, it's almost as if you can't really predict what's going to happen. You've got one side who's very pro-Israel. You've got another side that's a bit more past. They are still pro-Israel, but they're a bit more like leaning back on it. And so what does that look like if it kicks off? Does that mean the US gets involved and sends troops over to Iran or to help Israel, or even if it's just aid support? What does that look like for Ukraine? If the US has eyes all in Israel and Iran, do Ukraine get the support that they need? And then does Russia advance through Ukraine and start taking other countries? I saw a really good quote online where it was the Romans didn't know that the empire was falling, and they were still sat in the Colosseum eating and drinking until people came in and attacked them. Like, you can be very passive and sit back like I do and just kind of watch your House of Dragons Season 2. Really good show. You can watch your TV shows, your Clarkson's Farm. You can relax. You can read all my books behind me until someone comes knocking on your door. You don't answer it, and then they barge through the door and things get worse. Do you know what I mean? Like, or missiles start coming over into your country. It's almost as if I'm trying to just chill and look after my family, but I've always got one eye looking about what's going on over here. What's going on with these riots? What's going on with this next attack in Israel? Israel's next attack on Palestine. Iran's next attack on Israel. You know, the never-ending war that's been going on in Israel for like the past 2,000 years, whether it's the Crusades, whether it's all the different crazy stuff that's constantly going on in that area of the world, unfortunately. You know, obviously, I've got some friends who are from that area, and they're very hippie-esque people, like me, kind of like a bit of a hippie. And it's almost as if they're the ones who are like, I want my family to just be safe, you know? There's a lot of egotistic people in power who are constantly just trying to outdo the next egotistic person, right? And let's move on to the last point then of the stock market, which I think when I saw the Iran-Israel thing, again, like I said earlier, it's kind of already happened before and blown over. So if it wasn't for this stock market thing, I don't think I'd be too alarmed about it. And someone might say that this is a bit of a no worry right now. Last night, the stock market crashed like crazy. Which again is just another thing that adds to the flames, and it's not that big of a deal. But the one thing that there's two things that really caught my eye. Warren Buffett taking out billions in stocks, right? Selling stocks. And then the other thing I saw Lockheed Martin stocks went through the roof. Now, you could just be looking at all these and being like, it's just a correlation that, correlation, it's not that big of a deal. It's not affected by what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Eastern Europe with Ukraine. There's nothing to worry about. It's not about the unruliness that's going on in the UK. You could say all this stuff, but there's almost as if there's so many little bits of indicators here and there that make you start to just get a little bit concerned a little bit. Do you know what I mean? So the Warren Buffett holding on to 277 billion in cash and has been selling stocks, including Apple, at a record price. Is he anticipating a market downtown? Any thoughts? Downturn, sorry. Some people are just saying he's playing it safe. He's bracing a storm. Ugh. It does make you a little bit concerned, doesn't it? When rich people start to take notice, that's another thing as well. When rich people start to take notice and start to move money about, it's almost as if that's a bit more alarming than just news articles, because rich people know that they just know that little bit more. They're good at predicting things. They know where to shift the money to keep it safe so they can stay rich. It's just, like I said, it's an amalgamation of a lot of things that make me worry. And I know this isn't the typical video that you get on my YouTube channel, right? I could go ahead and just react to, the next US military video or a new weapon video or a new aircraft video. But as a former military member and an active member of the military community on YouTube, when it comes to the worries of people's families, which is why I joined the military in the first place, is to protect people, right? Whether you think that joining the military does that anymore is another question. But it was what my intention was as a 16-year-old joining the military. I still have that inherent desire to protect my family, protect the ones I love. And so I feel like there's a lot of people who feel the same way on my YouTube channel that might not have seen this stuff. That might also be you might be a concerned dad or a concerned mom or a concerned son whose parents don't watch the news, right? Watching these videos. And you might kind of be seeing these red flags the same as me and being a bit like, am I the only one a bit worried about this right now? And so I wanted to put this video out there and see what people think and get other people's opinions. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your voice in the comment section down below. Do you want me to do more opinion pieces like this where I start talking about the good things? Because, let's look back at where is it? Right here. This gives me hope, right? This gives me hope here. People going out and they're cleaning stuff up. That gives me hope. And so we should talk about the positive things that are happening around the world as well, right? But at the same time, if something is a little bit worrying and I've got a family to look after, and you were all my friends, my subscribers, I consider my friends, I want us all to be in the loop a little bit and all to be kind of giving each other that little bit of, reassurance or advice. I'm the type of person, like I said, who's a bit more of a, should I start prepping and start getting my own food together, getting a bit of dry food storage, Should I not sell my bus in the US just in case? It's fully off-grid. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Very important video, in my opinion. A little bit of a deviation from the regular videos. We'll be back to the regular videos tomorrow, unless anything big happens. Fingers crossed it doesn't. Until next time, I love you all. Stay safe. Goodbye.